Another episode of With the Chiefs.
Wait. Man, I need more rest.
I hope I've got your last name right there.
It's a very good pronunciation.
You should know better than that now, Donald.
I know.
All right, gents. Welcome back to another episode of With the Chiefs. Today, we're lucky to be joined by Matt Gore. Matt is a very talented ultra runner who is known for tearing up the mountains and has also more recently been making waves in the road running scene. We're going to be chatting.
We're going to be chatting about that.
We're going to be chatting to him today about his running background, while also digging more specifically into his recent 2:28:51 marathon performance at the Gold Coast. So, welcome to the show, Matt. Thanks for joining.
Thanks, Luke. Thanks, Dommy. It's a pleasure to be on after you've gone through pretty much every single other runner in Sydney. I'm glad I got mine.
Full disclosure, we've been trying to tee this up for a while, but thank you so much for joining, Mr. Matthew. After that remark, I think we'll start with Dom. Dom, how's training? No, how you been in general? It's been a while since we caught up, done a few solo eps, but obviously good to have you back. What's been happening and what's been happening with training?
Yeah, mate, it's a pleasure to be back. You did well carrying the Chiefs to 3 cracker episodes on your own.
Thanks, mate.
Well done.
Had to drag Mum in as well.
And Rosa. Well done, Rosa. I noticed Rosa had a little dig at me. That was funny.
Yeah, she didn't expect. After she said, "Oh yeah, he'll probably listen to this." I was like, "Yeah, he probably will. Probably will."
But yeah, it's great to have Matt on as well. I've been telling Smitty get Matt Gore on for about 2 years, so he's finally done it. Yeah. But training for me has been going all right. I got Jerome coaching me now, which
big
has made a big difference the past 2 or 3 weeks. I feel like just the accountability to get out and get sessions done has been missing in the past, and having Jerome just he doesn't do much really, but just knowing that like someone's looking at my training and is going to be critical of me if I stuff up has got me out the door, which is really good. And I'm starting to feel fit again as well, which is awesome. Like everything's just so much better when you're fit. Like it took about 3 weeks, but we're here now, and like sessions are starting to feel fun again, which is good. I felt like in the Lavarito block, I just wasn't really consistent and didn't get to this point. But just being able to prioritize running a bit more and feeling good. A couple of key workouts in the last couple of weeks. We went camping in Croatia for 2 weeks, and it was kind of tough to get runs in, but I still did my best to make it happen. But I think it was kind of like heat training the whole time as well, because it was like 30 degrees, and I guess Matt's used to camping, he knows what it's like, but you're just constantly exposed to it. So even at night, it was still like 25 degrees. And we were driving every second day for like 5 hours in the car, going around to all these different places in Europe, which was great. And then a couple of workouts was in Croatia. We did hill sprints through like a crowded campsite. So we were like dodging little kids, pushing their bikes around and stuff, which was fine. Still got it done. That was a memorable one.
Who's this crazy skinny pale Aussie sprinting through all of us? Can you not? Just here for like a European hot girl summer.
I was definitely getting a couple of looks, and not the good kind.
And presumably, Dom rigs out for all your sessions over in the European.
100%.
I've been keeping it pretty tame actually. Try and go shirt on at least for most of the session. I feel like
Why?
last 2 reps you've got go ahead, take your shirt off, but otherwise I think the rule is keep it on. Like no one wants to see your rig too much.
Well, Matt's known for pulling the shirt off even in like 8 degrees on Gore Hill, but anyway.
Yeah, I get nipple chafing otherwise.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it is performance enhancing though, taking your shirt off.
Oh, for sure. If nothing else, just because you go like, oh, now that I've taken my shirt off, I look like a wanker if I don't like win the session and run super fast.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Another consideration I didn't expect.
So yeah, hill reps through the campsite was a good one. Another one was Moose Fartlek, but we're in like the Pula, this little Croatian town. And I was looking for an oval, but the only one was like fenced off and a little bit overgrown. So I jumped the fence and did the workout around the oval. But about halfway through, this dog like just rocked up on the other side of the fence and was barking at me and chasing me throughout the whole workout.
Did you
I
bark
was
back?
a little disappointed. No, I was this dog wasn't mucking around. It was like a big kind of, I don't know, dog. I don't know what are they called, like Rottweiler or something. But yeah, that was pretty gnarly. I was kind of a little disappointed with how I was running, but I think with the heat and everything, that was kind of a excuse. But I got to Switzerland the next week and all my sessions were about 10 seconds quicker. So my confidence was back, which was really good. And then what else did we do? In Switzerland, the running was like pretty much perfect. It wasn't as hot and all the paths around like the lakes and the rivers are just beautiful for running. So I feel like I've really started to get fit there, which is really good. And now I'm in the UK. I felt like I've been drinking a couple more beers, but it's been okay so far. I feel like the risk with drinking beer is just you've got to be pretty disciplined and make sure you still get out for your runs. I feel like there's a tendency to just, I don't know, chill out and miss a couple of runs, which, I just got to keep on top of that. I feel like you can still do it. You just got to make sure you're harsh with yourself.
Yeah, Dom, it sounds like you've picked up the Luke Smith training program there. Do they have my, like if you, well, what's the local dart over in the UK? Because then you'll be doing a full Luke Smith training program.
Yeah.
This was a mistake.
No,
Matt, you
no
actually have
darts,
advice on that. You after a big night still ran 38 Ks. Is there a tipping point where you won't go out? Is there a beer count?
No, there's no beer count. It doesn't matter how much I drink. I really try. If it's an important session, I won't go out hard and I'll kind of go home at 9 p.m. But if it's not important, like it's just a 30 or 40K easy run and not a session or anything, you just set an alarm and you just get up no matter. Sometimes I've done it off like 2 hours sleep. I've been feeling a little bit sick in someone's Vaucluse front garden before. It's just, you get it done. It's time on feet, K's in the legs.
That's what I thought.
That's it. Yeah, but other than that, it's been going good. I did this gym session. It's like a class where they've got these like suspension bands. They're called TRX, and it's probably like one of the hardest things I've ever done. It was just like 1 hour of core, like non-stop. But I felt like that was really good because I was feeling a bit niggly. But gotten over that and going well. But what about you guys? How are you going, Smitty?
I'll give a bit of a background. I'm going well. My trainings, I'm not sure. I can't remember if I talked about it last time. I always do this where I don't remember, but basically Melbourne Marathon's not happening anymore. So,
Why not?
Didn't get in.
Well, it's more like he slept on getting the tickets for a week when I told him it was selling out immediately. and he didn't do anything. And then he went, "Oh shit, it's sold out." And I was like, "Yeah, it's like I told you 3 times it was selling out."
You
They had
did.
like 100 entries left, and he was like, "Oh, I might just sit on it."
That's all right. I know another marathon where you've already got an entry to. So
That's true. That's true. What I'm trying to do is make it sound like I got gypped about this marathon so I don't have to do a marathon and then I could just do a half marathon. But so the plan is to now, thanks for pointing that out, Matt. Really appreciate that. But the plan's to focus on, I'm doing a bit of half marathon training at the moment. So gonna focus on New South Wales half and then excuse me, and City to Surf as well.
Wait, you're focusing on City to Surf,
not focusing.
despite
No.
not coming to our final hill session for City to Surf that I'm putting on tomorrow, and told you that this is the session for City to Surf, and you went, "No, I've locked in an easy run with mates instead." And yet now you're saying that you're focusing on City to Surf.
Not okay. All right, I'm gonna shift the blame to Tobias again because we have a session scheduled in on Friday. So I can unfortunately, I won't be able to make that one, but Matt, really appreciate the invite. And I'm not focusing on City to Surf. I'm just going to train through that one, treat it like a session. Anyway, so the week's structure has remained pretty similar. So just doing at the moment, like Tuesday session at Delta, hoping that those sessions are a little bit quicker. And then MLR has been on Wednesday. Mind you, it's only still been about 75 minutes. Matt, does that pass as an MLR, 75 minutes for you in your book?
Yeah, I reckon 75 is the absolute lowest that it can be. If it was 70, I'd say no, but I think 75, 80 is yes.
Okay.
So, yeah, you're
Cool.
flirting with it, but you're over the line.
Okay, good to know. 75, I've been going 75, 80 at the moment. Because I normally normally Tuesdays are pretty fierce of a session, so Wednesday's a bit.
Yeah. But that's long enough for someone that's becoming a specialist weekend warrior / occasional half marathon runner.
I don't know who you're referring to. It must be someone else. And then Thursday is now easy running. Thursday's easy running. And then Friday is normally a session, and we're tending to do Fridays threshold repeats, so either 1K or 2K reps. And if we're doing the 1K, so for example, this Friday we've got 10 by 1K, probably not dipping too hard off 75 seconds rest. Saturday's easy, and Sunday's 145. What's the cutoff for you, Matt, in terms of long run? 90 is long run?
No, 2.5 min.
What?
2.5 hours minimum for a long run.
Nah.
145 is not a long run, sorry. That's a long run for a 3,000 meter runner.
Wait, for half marathon training, that's all right.
It's pretty short.
Okay. Well,
you literally have your long run done by 8 a.m. That's egregious.
I don't feel great. Might have to talk to Tobias. We might have to make some changes. I'll have to chuck some hills in at some point. But anyway. But training is actually going okay, I think. I'm starting to feel fit, a little bit of momentum. Just trying to put some consistent weeks together, although the mileage still hasn't been crazy. Trying to like hold it between 90 to 100 Ks. And yeah, just lead into, I think 6 weeks we have New South Wales half. So hopefully see if I can get into some a decent shape before then, and then see what race I'll go for after that. But obviously it's not going to be, there's not that much that's going to be around.
What about
but yeah,
Sydney Marathon?
yeah, look, I don't know.
There are still tickets to that, boss.
Is there? Great.
Yep.
Fantastic.
Or no
I don't,
marathon?
I've kind of like, I've kind of, yeah, I got all real hyped up for the marathon, and then now, if you can't tell, I'm not that hyped. Otherwise, I could have probably found one. But yeah. Anyway, that's my training. Matt, let's talk about you. What how was your, I know you've been on holiday. How was the holiday, and what's training? Did you train over there, and what's your sort of training update?
Yeah, holiday was super fun. Spent kind of 10 days in Vietnam and then half a week, a bit more than half a week each in Hong Kong and Taiwan. Um, Planned Gold Coast. I literally did Gold Coast because it was 2 days before I was flying out for 3 weeks. I was originally going to do Blackmores, but decided to do that instead. So I kind of had a bit of time just recovering. And because it's summer over there, everywhere I went was, say, 35 degrees, 100% humidity at all hours of the day. So it made running tough. I think I did, following Gold Coast, I had about a 40 or 50K week, mostly on the treadie, just taking it really easy. The next week I was up in a mountain town called Dalat in Vietnam. And then in the back half, I got to Hong Kong and ran with a few athletes that train under my coach. So I ended up doing about 100, 110Ks, but pretty easy, just mountain running. Threw in one session, but wasn't feeling great. So I decided to just take it easy and do a lot of trails and seek out the hills instead, which has been good because I've been missing the trails, doing all the boring flat running that Gold Coast required. And then the last week in Taiwan, I didn't do much. I had a really quiet week. I only went out for a run 3 times. It's just so hard. You go outside and it's 35 degrees and it's just, you just feel instantly sapped. I tried to do one session along the Hong Kong foreshore, which should, if it was in Australian winter conditions, it'd just be perfect. But I was thresholding at, say, 335, 340. So literally like 10 seconds per K slower than marathon pace. And I couldn't even hold that for like 4 by 5 minutes. I felt like I was going to tear my hammy or something. So I didn't do much then. But a couple of days ago, before flying back, I got into the mountains in Taiwan and did this incredible trail run, 2,000 meters elevation gain over an 8.5K out and back, so 8.5Ks each way, which was incredible, and kind of battled altitude sickness, went up to almost 4,000 meters, which was a first for me, and really interesting to see what that did to my body, and good to know kind of ahead of hopefully a racing season or two in the European Alps at some point. And then kind of got back to Taipei, and I flew in early morning yesterday and got out a 20-kilometer shakeout before hopping on the flight, and then once I got off the flight back here, I kind of went for another shakeout, and yeah, have just kind of gotten back into the scheme of things. So I should be back to my usual training program from tomorrow.
Yeah, nice. And obviously Gold Coast it's been a bit of time now, but how did you pull up after the race? Were you all good?
Yeah, totally fine. Like I know they often say, like you hear the IRP boys talking about how you need like 3 weeks off after the marathon. It's probably true for road runners or people doing their first few ones, but after 48 hours, I felt pretty good. So I was back on the treadie and still taking it easy because I don't want to overtrain and get injured just because I'm feeling good. But I did genuinely feel fine, and much lower impact than any of the ultras I've run in the last few years.
Yeah, I saw you caught up after the race, and I think you were doing much better than some other people walking around, running upstairs. But yeah, that probably has a lot to do with all your other races that you've done. I'm sure we'll talk more about that a little bit later. But I guess as an overview, when did you how long ago did you get started running? Like when did you actually start? And yeah.
Yeah, I started running back in year nine. I was kind of always a chubby kid going through school, and then, but I always like did cross country and I enjoyed it. And I never did well. I'd always come like ninth or 10th or 11th and never go to zone or anything. But like I never walked. That was always my thing. Like I'd always jog the whole way through. And then I kind of in year nine hit puberty and then just like got skinny. And I live on fire trails behind my house up near Hornsby, and I would just kind of run there like once a week, and it's one of those like positive feedback loops where when you're good at something, you just want to do more of it. And so I ran cross country in year nine, and I won just randomly for the first time. And then I started training a bit for zone, and I won zone, and then I came, and then I ended up going to state. And then from there, I just kept running cross country, and that was fun all the way through school. And then had a few years off when we started uni. Kind of what I was in first or second year uni is what Luke Smith is now, kind of thing. Just a few too many years and sleep-ins on the weekends and not enough running.
I was wondering specifically where you were going with that for a second.
Yeah. But I lived overseas in Milan for half a year in kind of fourth year uni, so 2018, I believe, or maybe 2017. And then I kind of got into running a bit more, and I came back and took it a little bit more seriously. And I've kind of only started really seriously running the last 2 years, I'd say.
Yeah. Okay. And then when did the ultras start?
The ultra started in 2018. Like I picked up trail running when I was in Milan and came back and kind of discovered the big community that was here. And I ran my first 50K in March of 2018. I did the AAA, the Australian Alpine Ascent, the one down at Cozzy in March. And then I ran UTA 50 in May. And then the next year I ran UTA 100 in May again. So that was 2019. And then I ran the following February Tarawera 100 miler.
Okay.
So that was, over kind of, I went from 50Ks to 100 miles over kind of 18 months to 2 years, actually. Yeah.
Okay. Selfishly, I'm going to ask some questions about the marathon, and then Dom can ask about the ultras later on, because it's top of mind. Wait, is that the first road marathon?
No, I ran back in 2018, kind of when I was still running 30 or 40Ks a week. I decided to do Sydney Marathon. So that was the first.
Yep.
Oh, actually, no, I ran a Shreech in Moy trail marathon a couple of weeks before Sydney Marathon, I think, maybe a month. So I ran a 3:15 on that one. And then at Sydney Marathon, I ran 3:02. And then this is technically my third marathon, but the first I kind of properly trained for.
Okay. And in terms of this build, I just want to get a bit of an understanding of what like the structure you took in terms of training. So, how long did you take for the build? Was it sort of 12 weeks or no, 16 weeks?
Nah, I ran hut to hut 100K in late February, which is a massive, like probably Australia's hardest 100K. And that was the end of February. And that knocks me out for a fair bit. Now I think I had 6-foot track marathon in mid-March, which I ran with a broken toe. And so that put me out for a bit. So I think I started about mid-April. So the build-up was kind of remind myself how to run a little bit faster again, because I'd had some injuries since about July last year and have been training for my 100 miler. So I was strong, but pretty slow.
Yeah.
So pretty much all of April, I just tried to get a bit of speed back in the legs and reduce overall volume. And then May we had the Sydney 10K, and then I trained through all of May, and then June, and then at the end of May we had the half, the
Yeah.
Sydney half. And then kind of after the Sydney half, my marathon training started in earnest, and I had 4 big Sunday long run sessions to get me fit. And then I had a kind of a 1.5 week taper, and then I raced. So not a kind of marathon specific, probably only 5 weeks, but road specific, closer to 10 to 12.
Yeah, okay. And the half you ran, I think it was 71 high, was it?
Yes, I think 71.55
50,
or something. Yeah.
which got you, I think it was 5th place, which is pretty
Yeah, that
damn
was
cool.
good. That
Yeah.
was a good run. It was just because it was hilly, and I'm good at hills and no one else is, because I'm not particularly fast. But yeah, that was good. I really had no expectations.
Yeah.
And my PB before then was 75 something, and this is not a fast course. So, and I hadn't done any real specific training for a half marathon. I don't know how to train for a halfer. Yeah, so that was good. And then that kind of gave me confidence. And we go, well, if I can run that, then surely Gold Coast is, I'm in with a shot for a fasty.
Yeah, because you were I remember chatting to you, you were sort of targeting before that race, or even before Sydney 10, thinking of like a 2:35 almost.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I agreed with my coach. We were like, I think I'm capable of sub 240. Actually, I think I'm capable of sub 235. Let's train for that. And then probably the pressure from a few Delta people pushed me towards aiming for a sub 230 instead. Yeah, Luke Smith being one of them. And then I kind of had a chat with my coach in the week before and went, hey, look, I feel like I've been running every single one of these long run sessions faster than we'd planned, on kind of on purpose. I went, one of those questions where you kind of don't want to hear the answer in case he says no, and go, well, what do you reckon about it? I have a crack at under 230, and he went, yeah, I reckon you're in shape for that, and it's your choice. Like, you're the athlete, you get to decide what you do. But he was in sport, so I went, okay, cool, let's do it.
Yeah, I don't think it was unreasonable, especially some of those sessions towards the end were quite quick. Which will
they were harder than the race.
Yeah, I remember this. Remember when when I tried to go around Centennial Park with you. Do you remember what that session was? I think it was.
I think it was 20Ks warm up at 4 minute Ks, and then 3x3Ks at marathon pace, 2Ks at 2Ks at half marathon, and then 1K at 10K pace, and just doing 3 of those. So the marathon pace became your float.
Yeah.
That was 18Ks of marathon pace, half marathon pace, 10K. So you'd finish that off on the 38th K running a 3:05, 3:10. You do that, and then kind of the marathon trying to run 3:30s becomes a bit easier.
Yeah, for sure. I remember I think I was trying to do like 12K of that, and I got through maybe like 6K until we got to the marathon pace float. That just as soon as I dropped off, that was it. That was the end of me. But obviously you got through it. So before you went through those 5 weeks of more specific marathon training, how did you approach the roads? Like, for example, what was a typical structure for a week?
Yeah, so I usually have Monday as my recovery day, because my Sunday long run, trail or road, is always like my biggest session of the week. So Monday's recovery, usually between 30 minutes and an hour, depending on how high the volume is for that week. Tuesday's session with the Delta boys. Wednesday is an MLR, usually about 90 minutes, but that's kind of broken up because I do my run lab coaching as part of that MLR. So it's not really a pure, like it'll be 90 minutes of running over, say, 2.5 hours. But that's just kind of, it's not ideal, but that's just the best I can do because I can't make it up in the afternoon instead. Thursday is the famous hill sessions that you avoid like the plague every week. And that's great. I actually think I have the main difference between myself and a lot of other Delta runners is that I do these hard hill sessions at rapid pace, and I think that's probably the difference, because if you're not a good hill runner, you're a bad hill runner, and every course has hills. Fridays is supposed to be my rest day, but while I was training good and didn't have any niggles, I joined the work run club, so we do like 4 to 5 Ks at like 6-minute Ks. So it's pretty much a rest day anyway. Saturday during my trail season training, Saturday is a tempo run. So usually 2 by 30 minutes or 2 by 20 minutes at a particular watts, but usually they'll be on trail and maybe like translate to 3-minute 30 Ks or 3-minute 40 Ks. But for the road block, because the Sunday session was so hard, I just do like an hour to an hour and a half easy on Saturday.
Yep.
And then Sunday would be the monster session to cap off the week. That would, be between, when you include the warm up, warm down, anywhere between 40 to 50 K.
Yeah, shit. Okay, so you're really loading up Sunday. For comparison for trail stuff, what is it? How do you train differently?
So trail, the Thursday hill session's quite different because I do it on really steep hills instead of like Centennial Park hills where I'm trying to, you're running 330s up at 4%, right? Whereas trails, I'm running 6-minute Ks up at 15 to 20% hill instead.
Yeah.
My Wednesday run for Goldie, I just go do like laps of Centennial Park or as part of my coaching. Whereas for trail running, I go find the hilliest course I can and over, say, 90 minutes, try and get 400 or 500 meters of vert in.
Mm-hmm.
And then, as I said, the Saturday session. So when I'm trail running, I'm effectively doing 4 sessions a week, whereas road running is 3 sessions because I drop the Saturday tempo and do an easy run instead.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Take us into some of those Sunday sessions. So what was sort of the goal with them? And if you can share maybe like 1 or 2 that you thought were really solid as well. Because I just they're a little bit, just from my understanding, a little bit different compared to some traditional marathon. Because I know a lot of people go out and just do a certain amount of Ks at marathon pace to simulate it, but your workouts are a little bit different and obviously played a big part in the result. So yeah,
that's right. So my coach's philosophy is that he essentially doesn't rate doing long runs where you're just running in blocks of marathon pace, because when you're tired, you drop off that marathon pace and it's just inevitable. So what his philosophy is, you train your legs to run over the course of a marathon faster than marathon pace, so that when you go out to run, it's actually easier, because you've been training, say, 320 pace, but it's actually you only want to run 330 pace. And that means in the last, say, 10 Ks, when everyone's blowing up, you're blowing up but falling back towards what your actual marathon pace should be. And you effectively train your legs to hurt a lot more in that final 10K, say, because a marathon is made or lost in the last, say, 12Ks. They always say it's a 30-kilometer warm up or 32K warm up for a 10K sprint, right? And it is, that's true, but no one trains like that. Whereas this training block was to train like that. So I do 20 kilometers of just warm up. Luckily, I had a good Delta squad to kind of latch onto, and many that were training with 20Ks, which was their marathon pace. That's easy. And the point of that is not to overly tire you, but it's just to get a bit of load and fatigue in the legs so that you can then start kind of 15 to 18 kilometers of really high quality, hard work, and train your legs to be running very, very fast at, say, 30 kilometer, 35 kilometer, 36 kilometer, 37. Because otherwise, if you do it in blocks, the idea is that, yeah, you'll hold the marathon pace for kilometers 1 to 25, but you're just going to fall off at kilometer, say, 35, because you haven't done that work. And I definitely found that we had a 2:29 pace pack, and it started with about 30 of us runners. By when we went through halfway, we probably still had about 20. When we went through 32 Ks ish, we were probably still about 12 to 15. But by the turnaround at 37 kilometers, we were probably down to about 6. And even I dropped about 50 meters back by then because I'd started to cramp up. But of that group of 30, I think I finished third in that pack. So, and the two ahead of us were Jen Gregson and the pacer, who went all the way. So everyone else who I think are much stronger, much faster runners than me, particularly, and I know at least one of them, and he's a much faster half marathon, 10K, 5K than me. And I put a minute and a half into him in the final 4 or 5Ks.
Yeah, well, okay.
That's the difference. I still hurt and was blowing up, but I could control it and knew that I'd kind of trained my legs to be really hurting and still try and run 3:10 pace. So I was hurting more at Gold Coast, but running 3:30 pace, hurting more, was easier than running 3:10 pace, hurting a little bit less, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. And sort of what were some of the, do you have example of maybe the 2 key ones, or the ones that you've sort of completed and were like, okay, I reckon I'm ready for this race?
Yeah. So that one that I mentioned was a key one. So that was 20Ks. I'm reading off my training peaks. 20Ks easy at 4-minute pace. Mm-hmm. Then so it went 3 kilometers at marathon pace. So that was 3:35. 2 kilometers at half marathon pace, which is 3:25. Then 1 kilometer at 10K pace, which is 3:15. I spent 18 kilometers cycling between 3:35, 3:25, 3:15. And I finished that. And I remember kind of the final one, I ran 3:30, 3:20, 3:10 instead, and went, okay, I'm pretty good. If I can run 3:20, 3:20, 3:10 from kilometers 36, 37, 38, it's in pretty good shape. Let me pull up another one.
Yeah, that's a monster. That was the one I was there with.
Yeah.
You collapsed at the end.
Yeah.
It was a good one.
Yeah, that was a tough one. And then there were another one, for example, was again 20Ks at 4-minute pace, and then 5 by 1,200 meters at half marathon pace at 3:25, and then 800 meters float at 4-minute Ks, and then 5 by 600 meters at 10K pace at 3:15, 400 meters easy at 4-minute pace. So that was actually a little bit easier, but still you end up doing kind of on off at 10K pace for the final 5 kilometers. Again, so that kind of stuff, and I'm just going to be doing more of that in the lead up to Melbourne, because I think that really works.
Yeah, absolutely. And did you nail all the workouts?
Yeah, I never managed to. I did most of them around Centennial Park, and it kind of depended a bit on whether I was on the slight uphill or the slight downhill. The slight uphill, I never quite managed to nail the paces. I was always a little bit off, but I think I was getting pretty close to. It's pretty hard to run a 3-minute 15 flat at 37 Ks. But if I was running if I'd gone from a 3:25 to a 3:18 or 3:19, I went oh, it's pretty good, close enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I felt like I finished every session going like I've killed myself in that one. I run it as hard as I can, and there were no spectacular blow ups. And in each of them I did blow up a little bit, and I pushed through and I dealt with it.
Yeah.
Mm.
And were you practicing fueling on all those sessions?
No, only the last. I only practice with the liquid fuel in the final one. But I did practice with gels for most of them. But essentially, it was just like take a gel or two in the warm up, and then like take maybe one gel during the session during a float, but nothing crazy. But to be honest, I'm used to trying to fuel for like 100Ks or like the miler last year.
Yeah.
Fueling for a marathon's pretty easy.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of how much as well, like doing those crazy workouts, as well as like how much you've already put your legs through in terms of ultra training and those races probably play into it as well. And also all the hills, I imagine.
Yeah, I'd say so. It's something that I've like thought about for a couple of like the athletes that I coach that are doing their own marathons, and I'm not prescribing those sessions to them, like even for their equivalent 10K half marathon pace times, because I just don't think that I don't think it's sustainable for people that don't have a lot of Ks in their legs, and
Yeah.
and not even like the marathon runners that are say do 160, 170 Ks. I think it's probably actually quite unique to ultra marathon runners that, you know, that can go out, and Dom's probably getting to the same stage where like I'm lucky enough that I could go run a 70 or 80 kilometer run tomorrow and like not only like do it fine, but pull up pretty well and be back to normal running within a couple of days as long as I wasn't redlining it. Whereas most people, you know, you did that 50K run and you were out for like 3 fucking weeks. So, and
Yeah.
you're a good runner. So like that goes to show the difference.
Yeah, for sure. That actually cooks me.
Yeah, that's right. Whereas 50Ks for me is fine. So I think it kind of let me push my body harder and still kind of have recovered by Tuesday to get a quality speed session in.
Yeah, because those Sunday sessions obviously are massive, and you always pulled up pretty well on Tuesday. Like you didn't seem to have any issues. You're always strong in the session. Whereas like I know a lot of, even when I started doing marathon training, some of those bigger sessions used to cook me up until sort of Wednesday. So I guess the experience plays into it as well.
Yeah, I found that those sessions, despite being really hard in the moment, because they were only like, say, 2.5 hours time on feet,
Yeah.
even though you clock out like 45, 46, 47 Ks, they just had such a lesser load than, say, when I was doing peak long runs ahead of my miler, where I was just spending 6 hours climbing in the mountains, like 6 hours versus 2.5. So
Yeah.
I feel a lot more smashed on Tuesday sessions during trail season.
Yeah, okay. I didn't know you were doing 6 hour runs on the Sunday. That's wild.
Yeah, well, for peak training, I'd be doing, well, yeah, I kind of build up to 4 hours for a few weeks, and 5 hours for a few weeks, and 6 hours, and then back down 5, 4, 3 taper race.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Tom, did you have
How
any
long?
questions?
Yeah, I was just wondering how much time per week were you spending
Not a
doing
lot.
marathon training? Yeah.
Not a lot, because it was so fast. Like all the Ks were so fast. So I'm not a massive mileage trainer. I like frankly don't have the time with my work, and I don't see a lot of value in it for me. So I was doing about 130, max 145 Ks a week, and that was about 10 hours. Whereas
Yeah, well.
during trail season, I'd be doing like maybe peaking at like 150 Ks, but that'd be like 15 or 16 hours.
Yeah, geez.
So I found like it was quite good because I like felt like I was training lots of quality, reasonable volume. Like some people say that you need 160, 170 to be a great marathoner, but I'm not sure I believe that. I don't think that getting another 40 Ks of junk recovery would have helped me that much. And and I was doing it in 10 hours. I felt like had heaps of time this training block. I loved it.
Yeah. No, I think it's a good point. And all your jogging around with that was pretty quick as well, was it?
Not super quick. Like usually my jogs are during trails when I'm super tired and I got so much load in the legs, my jogs would usually be like 5 minutes to 5:20s. And I was finding that during the roadblock, my jogs were like typically 4:30s to 4:50s. But nothing fast. Like, nothing pisses me off more than seeing running mates that I know are way slower than me running like 4:15s for their midweek long run or like for their easy runs. It's no, it's too fast. So no, I don't do that.
Awesome. Yeah, I think you've touched on most stuff. What about the shoe choice? What shoes were you
Vaporfly
rocking?
threes. Vaporfly
Oh, yeah.
threes. They were great. I haven't really tried. Actually, no, that's a lie. I've got a few carbon plate shoes now. I've always raced in the Vaporflies. They've just felt the best for me so far. I've also I got a pair of the Asics Metaspeed Sky Plus, I think, or Edge Plus, or one of those ones. And I quite like them, but I would never race in them because I don't feel like they give you anywhere near the energy return. The Vaporfly threes for me were way better than the Vaporfly twos. So there was a bit of hype around them, and I got them like the day before Sydney 10K in May, and I raced them and went like, holy shit, this is so good. I'm not going back. And so my Vaporfly twos race shoes instantly became a pair of trainers, and I've raced everything in Vaporfly threes since. And by the end of the marathon, my legs were feeling awesome.
Interesting. Yeah, I haven't tried those yet, but
Oh, get onto it,
what
Dom.
yeah. And your training, you said what, just the Vaporfly twos for the sessions?
Yeah,
Um,
I cycled between. I wore a pair of Vaporfly ones, which have like 1,000 Ks in them. And then Vaporfly twos for the key sessions. But I tried not to. Yeah, but those are the only ones I wear carbon plates for.
yeah, and then other shoes in the rotation.
Oh, I got like 30. We don't have all night.
Yeah,
But mostly I run with in my Tarkine shoes.
Oh yeah, what are those?
So they're called the Tarkine Goshawks. They're kind of just a daily trainer, but pretty cushioned and responsive. But because I run with the shoe brand Tarkine that are kind of a new outfit coming out of Perth, that are all about sustainability, and they make their shoes out of recycled plastics, and they're all about so sustainability of the shoe, longevity of the shoe. They make shoes designed to last more than kind of 600 Ks, which is a classic like Nike Asics outfits will do. And luckily I've known the co-founder for a few years, and when they started up, and they're pretty about the environment. They kind of donate, I think it's 2 or 3% of their sales to Bob Brown Foundation and for wild places, and which are ecological sustainability non-profits. So I've been, they kind of went, do you want to run with us and put the kit on, particularly for the trail race, and they've just come out with a trail shoe, which is pretty awesome. So I'll be running with them, like with their kit on for the upcoming trail seasons. But yeah, they don't have a road race shoe yet, so I just use them for a lot of my daily training. Probably half my weekly mileage would be in one of my like 10 pairs of those, and the other half I just cycle through to just get a bit of variety in the shoes and make sure my feet are happy.
Yeah, that's awesome. Pretty cool. There's a Australian shoe brand out there it seems like it's more than just a shoe brand. They're doing a bit for the environment, and the shoes actually last a while, which I think that's a big plus for me. I feel like I'm always
You have a gripe
buying
with a lot
shoes.
of shoes, hey Dom.
Yeah, these ones are awesome, Dom. They're good. You should check them out sometime. They're kind of I've done over 1,000 Ks in a couple of my pairs, and I still pop them on and do like do sessions in them sometimes, and definitely take them out for like the midweek long run and all the rest. And they're not just like shit recovery shoes, which you just plot in. And they got a bit of life to them still and don't have any tears or anything. And and the trail shoes they're hoping to kind of really take the best elements of all the really popular shoes in the market and turn it into some kind of next gen really, really great shoe that ticks all the boxes and is super eco-sustainable. So yeah, it's pretty exciting space for them to be in. I think hopefully they're an indicia of a change in the shoe industry, which frankly needs to change because it's so unsustainable.
That's awesome. And you mentioned that you were going to be wearing them in a couple of upcoming trail events. Have you got anything penciled in yet, or?
Yeah, I'm still discussing with my coach, but I'm lining up Tarawera 100K in February. I think either that or go back down to Hut in the Vic Alps. So two very, very different races, both 100K, but one will take me like 14 hours and one will hopefully take me like 9 or less than that.
Yeah.
So one has 6,000 meters of vert and one has 2,000, I think. So I've got to decide on that. Then I think in late November, just off the back of my Melbourne marathon training, so it'll be about a month after, I'll go down to Alpine Challenge around Falls Creek because I've got a few mates running down there. And I think I want to crew them, and I might just do they've got a 42K course, and the course record held by Nick Bamford, who's a really good Queensland runner, but more of an endurance runner and not particularly nippy. I think I could go down and hopefully nab the course record. That'd be fun. And then go crew for my mates. And then the big one, which I've still got to decide on with my coach as to whether I'm ready yet, will be the West Mac, the Sonda Monster, the 230-kilometer course along the Larapinta, which would be in May next year. So that'll be my target race. All of those representing Tarkine, but I'll have to decide. I pulled up from GSER pretty well. Now that's a tough 100-miler. But yeah, there's another step again, because that GSER I ran 27 hours, I think, which is a really fast time. It only got me third, but I think the entire podium ran under the existing course record. The FKT, fastest known time for Larapinta run, is 40 hours. So I'd be looking I would probably not break the FKT in my first attempt. So I'd be looking at 40 hours plus, which is, uncharted territory for me. And maybe I'm too young and don't quite have the volume in my legs to do a good job of it yet.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what's the criteria? Like, when would you sort of know you're ready, or like, how would you judge that roughly?
Probably a couple more 100-milers that are a bit longer in terms of time, and making sure that I finish those feeling good and I don't have the dramas that I had at GSER in terms of nutrition, and really dialing those in. And then maybe do like a few backyard ultras, because they give you the chance to just do hour by hour. So I could, run a 30-hour one and then do, and then maybe aim for 36 hours, say, or 40 hours, and kind of see how the body copes, because I've run 27 hours once. My other miler, I ran 22 hours, I think. So, and the 22 hours, although it was 4 years ago, really smashed my body. So it might be that although I can run 27 hours and feel pretty good, anything over 30 at this stage will really nail me. But I'm not sure. I think I'll defer to the experience of my coach. And if he says I'm ready, then I'll go for it. And the beauty of ultra running is, like, you never know if you're going to finish. Marathon running is fun and all, but realistically, I knew there was a 4-minute, probably less. There was probably like a 2.5 to 3 minute time slot that I knew I would finish within, which kind of takes the excitement out of it. Is it going to be a 2:28, 2:29, 2:30, 2:31? Whereas, something like Larapinta, it's just like, am I going to finish it? And, you know, the cutoff 60 hours. And literally that's the question. Is it going to be 40 hours, 36 hours for a new course record, 45, or like 59 and a half, or a DNF? And so you don't know. And that's kind of the beauty of it. So I have to defer to someone that has trained athletes that have done races like those and knows a bit more than me.
Would you go back to the track at all and do like a 48 hour or something, or?
No, I don't think so. I only did that track race to get the course record after to get the age record after seeing you do it. I have no interest in running more track races. I find them quite boring.
No.
Wait, which I apologize.
Record's safe then.
Like literally the track ultra master. And I've got a lot of respect for that. But
So good.
yeah, if I'm going to spend 12, 24 hours, like it's got to be somewhere beautiful, not around some shithole track somewhere.
No, fair point.
Noted.
Yeah, that's interesting. And then so you talked about issues in GSER with fueling. Was there any like particular strategy that you were going for that was different, or I don't know what's worked in the past, what hasn't worked? What are your thoughts on that?
Fueling's a hard one. Like I know that the principle is to train as you race, but as a young person, it's quite hard to train as you race in terms of nutrition, because I know what I need to do for nutrition. I need to get 70 to 90 grams of carbs an hour, which is say three gels. It's pretty hard if you're doing a 6-hour training run every weekend, because at the time I was using Spring Energy gels, which are about, you know, let's round up and say 20 grams of carbs an hour. So that's like, that's a Spring Energy gel every 15 minutes for 6 hours. It's 24 Spring Energy gels. They all cost like $5. It's like $125 every Sunday just on nutrition. I'm not doing that. Crazy.
Plus, your guts
I'm
would
not
be
sponsored
gone.
athlete. Yeah, I literally run for fun. Like if I had a nutrition sponsor, sure, but I don't. So I ended up, and because I don't really need to fuel heaps anyway, I'm quite good. Like I don't really drink a lot of water. I don't really eat unless it's more than 3 hours normally. So I just be fueling on like bananas and peanut butter sandwiches and bars and nuts and stuff. I try a little bit during the key long runs to train, but even then it'd be like 1 or 2 gels an hour, not like 3.5. And then I get into race day and I'm like, all right, let's fuel properly, because my gut's pretty good usually. And I pump three gels an hour, and it's sweet. It was fine for like the first 8 hours. But then but I was running pretty hard with the other top two, Owen and Nige. And I think I got to about 8.5 hours, 70, 75 Ks. We've been redlining pretty hard. I just picked out my next Spring Energy gel and went, I can't eat that. If I eat that, I'm going to throw up. And I had it anyway, because, you know, that's what you do. Like fueling's super important. And then I spent the next 20 minutes like trying not to throw it all back up. And then I just got into a bit of a spiral and pretty much couldn't eat anything for about 6 or 7 hours. And so, you know, by the time I was actually longer. The first time I had something proper to eat again was at 18 hours when I picked up my pacer. So yeah, it's hard to like run super hard through the mountains, doing crazy vert during the night when you haven't eaten properly for like 6 hours and still feel like puking. I remember from about 110 kilometers, 130 kilometers, it was about maybe 9 p.m. to midnight, and I grabbed from the aid station like one of those little packs of lollies that had maybe had 5 or 6 just little lollies, and I made myself every 15 minutes sit down, and I would time myself. I'd sit down on the side of the trail and just force myself to have 1 lolly and then try not to puke that up. And I'm not sure, like, how much was that lolly? Like 5 calories, 10 calories, you know, like nothing, a little bit of sugar. And, you know, that's all I could fuel off like 2 hours. So Yeah. And yet I kept running and kept running and kept running and kept running through the night. So yeah, you do stuff like that, and road running's pretty easy in comparison.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
about to
definitely.
say, how does your how do you just sustain the energy? Like, especially if you're not fueling, you just you just keep
You have
going.
no energy, but you just keep going because what's the alternative? You're not going to stop.
Yeah,
Sometimes you walk like, you could be swaying side to side, you're completely gone, but then you'll get a bit more energy and you just go. I guess you just deplete all your glycogen, and then you start. Well, I forget the physiological pathways, but don't you start metabolizing muscle and protein, I think.
Mm.
So, and it's not an energy efficient source, but there are ways when you've completely gone through all your carbohydrate storages and all your fat storages, your body will start to destroy your muscle and other parts of the body to fuel it. You will get fuel. It's just not effective and you feel like shit. You can keep going,
Mm.
but it's hopeless, and you don't run a good race. And once in my miler, once I picked up my pacer, I started eating again fairly well, actually. Not super, super well, but reasonably well, all things considered. And my legs just went to another level. Like suddenly I was getting, kilometers that had over 100 meters of elevation gain in that K, and I was running them at like 130 kilometers and,
wow.
running them well. So, that's a huge difference. Um, so yeah, but it's hard. It's something that if I want to get better at 100 milers in particular, but even 100 Ks, I need to figure out what nutrition works for me and how to nail it, because until then, it's like trying to be a marathon runner without doing speed sessions. And so, what's the point? You're not going to be good.
Mm.
Yeah, it's a good point, but it seems like it's so tricky, especially once it starts going bad. It seems like there's no real um, way out of it. Like you're kind of stuck in a shit situation.
Yeah,
Um,
that's right. You do come out of it eventually, but
mm,
it's not like you're cramping and you can just take some cramp fix and slow down. Like once you start spinning down, it's hard. It takes a long time. And by then, if you're running competitively, you could lose 30 minutes on, you could have worked your ass off to get a 15-minute lead on second place.
mm,
And within an hour, or maybe say 2 hours, they're 30 minutes ahead of you, because you've just like, you can't run anything, pretty much just power hiking every uphill, you shuffle jogging the flats and downhills. It's not a leg thing. It's just a nutrition thing. Your body's run out of fuel.
mm. Um, do you take on any like liquids like Tailwind or
Yeah.
stuff like that? Or
Yeah, I used to do it a lot more. For GSER, it was hard because it was such remote wilderness that it was kind of like 30 Ks between aid stations at times. So it was
right?
like, well, it's hard to, I can't carry that much liquid on me. And at that stage, I was more into getting the electrolytes in.
Mm,
But that's definitely something I'm going to revisit for next one. And I do it for 100 Ks. But I like running trail races with only 2 bottles, so only 1 liter, um,
right.
because it lightens me, and then I just have
Mm,
the reserve capacity just stored in the backpack, just in bottles not used.
mm,
Um, but that comes at a price, being that I can't just load up on like 2 liters of Tailwind, which I know will be, say, 150 grams of carbs, which should get me through 2 hours. Like I'll have 1 bottle, so that's like 30 minutes worth of nutrition. I still need to make that up in other stuff.
mm. Yeah, I think most people, yeah, just use the same strategy. Like no one's carrying bottles of Tailwind around really.
Yeah, that's right.
But
And
it's
I've been such a chronic, particularly my early days of ultra running, such a chronic cramper that I prioritize electrolytes
mm,
and go like
yeah,
electrolytes is
right.
what
Okay.
I need to not cramp,
Mm,
as well as like strength and conditioning in the gym and just being a stronger runner. So, but I can get nutrition from other sources. So I prioritize electrolytes and just get nutrition through solids and gels.
yeah. Okay. It's interesting. Um, what else? I've seen you done the 655 Australian Alps walking track
Yeah.
a couple of years ago. That's like probably when I first kind of figured out who Matt Gore was. Um, But yeah, how was that?
Yeah, that was awesome. That was a real like life-changing experience, and something that, to be honest, like I'm not really someone that reflects a lot on the past. I move on pretty quickly, and I'm always thinking about the next thing. And I'm not really like a wistful person, but often I'll catch myself like at work, working late, or just in my stupid office job, and just I'll like see photos of other people out on the Australian Alps walking track and just go like, wow, like, I really wish I was there right now. I really wish I could relive that experience. So that was great fun. That was the Australian Alps walking track is something that's always it's just a behemoth of a trail. It's just so beautiful, so remote, so hard. 655 kilometers from just outside Melbourne to Canberra along the Great Dividing Range. It's just you can't put into words how stunning it is, and it's just like the most liberating thing being able to run it. Not many people have run it, maybe a dozen, 20. The FKT is like 11 days, but done by freaks who pack nothing and cop the elements and just go, half a week with crazy sleep deprivation to get over the line. So my friend Giles and I decided that we'd do it. We try and raise some money for the Bob Brown Foundation for charity, and just essentially have a ball. We were all about kind of going, this is something that will be the adventure of a lifetime, running 655 Ks through, 655 Ks for over 30,000 meters elevation gain. So it's a lot. It's a lot. And sections, it was just after COVID and after the bushfires, so the trail wasn't well marked in plenty of places where you were, hadn't seen a road for a day or so, hadn't seen another person for 2 or 3 days. You're in some valley deep in the wilderness. There's no trail around. There should be a trail. The GPS is saying there should be a trail. The maps say there should be a trail, but there isn't. And you'll just see like an AAWT marker nailed into a tree, let's say every 200 or 300 meters, but that could be 20 minutes. And it's overgrown, and it was an adventure. That's what it was. There were some days where we do like 1 kilometer an hour for 4 or 5 hours, and just, it was so frustrating at the time. And there's this deep like pit of like anxiety and worry that you're completely lost and you're not going to find the right path. But then you just keep going, well, there's no point sitting here crying about it. We got to get ourselves out of here, and kind of problem solving, just all this problem solving to get ourselves on the right track. And then you'd find the route and you'd pick your line up the valley onto the right ridge line. And there was no better feeling just being so independent and just kind of in control of our own destiny like that. And then kind of in the background to that, you're running along the most beautiful parts of Australia. It's just this thing. I think, everyone in their lifetime should either hike or run the AAWT. I think it just puts your world in perspective. And we were lucky enough to have a film crew come along with us. We've had a lot of problems getting a film subsequently made, although we have the footage. We were in partnership with Salomon, and we essentially prepared like a 13 or 14 minute film with them, or for them, that they were going to publish on their global network. And then they passed it on to the international team, and the international team said, no, we don't want to publish it. So we were kind of back to the drawing board. And it's still, we hope that one day we get the film up, because we got 60 hours of incredible footage, and we really want to share the journey and the wilderness and the trail with everyone. But it's hard without spending 20 or 30 grand to get it made. So yeah, hopefully we'll get to share that with everyone one day, but it's probably not going to be anytime soon. But yeah, that was an incredible experience.
Yeah, geez, sounds pretty epic. And did you find any of those experiences kind of helped you with 100 miles in the future? Or...
Yeah, I think so. I think it kind of got this like deep level of load and training in my legs that I'll never really lose, and just this kind of fitness that I'm just used to being so fatigued and just running like just jogging slowly. You know, our packs, because we carried everything with us, our packs were like 10 kilograms sometimes. Like it doesn't sound like a lot, but it actually is a lot when you're trying to run. It's pretty heavy. So a lot of it was just hiking. But yeah, it made me a better navigator. It made me a better problem solver. It made me a stronger runner. It kind of puts everything in perspective, because even though, like, you know, GSER, you know, sometimes the trails disappeared and you're kind of going over rolling hills and you just have to pick your way across with pink banners, and, you know, during the night when there is not very good visibility, but you just go like, I've been in this scenario before. I know how to think about it. I don't get panicked. This is not that bad. So yeah, I think it just teaches you how to be tough, you know. And as I said, like, yeah, you know, 7Ks into Sydney 10K, your left quad is kind of getting a bit tight because you're trying to run a bit faster than you probably should be. Wow, so tough. Like, you know, like it's not really hard in comparison to these kinds of things. So that helps a lot.
Yeah, that's
Same
crazy.
for the marathon as well. Like towards the end of the marathon.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Maybe not 655 specifically, but just like all of the all the trail running experience helps. And as you begin to blow up, like, you still blow up the same way, maybe a bit less, but like you still blow up. It's just the way that you control the blow up is fundamentally different. I find that most, you know, big generalization, obviously, but a lot of road runners I know despair when they start to blow up and they go like, oh, well, this is it. My race is over. Throw in the towel mentally and, you know, suddenly start bleeding 20 seconds per K. You know, walk a bit. I've heard of a lot of Delta runners walking marathons. Like, that to me is unbelievable. Why are you walking in a marathon? Like, you can literally have a broken ankle or like torn tendons, which I've had. I tore my ankle at 95 kilometers at UTA 100, and I ran the last 5Ks. You know, from further steps which I walked. Like, if you can walk, you can run. So like that's the kind of stuff that I mean. You know, like, they're probably in the same place, but I think that I'm better able to control the blow ups and go like, all right, how about, like, if I take the foot off the gas a tiny bit and bleed, say, 5 seconds per K, I can control the cramping a little bit. I'm not feeling great, but that's all right. Do some mental maths. Okay, over the next 5Ks, I'll bleed 20 seconds, 25 seconds maybe. And yeah, whereas otherwise you can get a bit dramatic about it and go like, oh no, this is my race over, my leg's cramping, I got to walk it out, and suddenly you lose 3 minutes.
Sounds like my Melbourne Marathon last year.
Yeah, it's just stuff like that, and it's like, you know, that's not to say that those runners are weak and not resilient. It's just to say they haven't had the experiences where they've had to fight through it, and they've learned that they can fight through it. And there's more of, it's in trail running. It's understood that the mountains always win. You always get beaten. You will explode multiple times during any ultra, no matter how good you are or how amateur you are. And so you get used to dealing with it because you embrace that. Like, it's literally like embrace the pain. Whereas in road running, it's like, oh, there's like, in an ideal world, you have perfect conditions, you run pretty hard and you feel no pain and you cross the finish line in a great time. Like, it's not how running works. Like, you should expect the implosion. But I think road running, there's less of an acceptance of that, and it's more seen as like, if you explode, you've run too hard, or you've paced, you know, you've run a poor race, and then as soon as you do that, you go, well, they equate explosions to running a poor race, and then they're like, oh, if I run a poor race, then it's all over. It's like, well, no, you're at kilometer 16 of a half marathon. You know, deal with this problem, overcome it, and even if that's kind of like dropping 10 seconds per K slower for the next 2Ks and then coming back strong. Like, it's just, you know, it's ways of dealing with it, which I think don't have the experience. And I guess that's why, like, people say you need 10 marathons to nail one. They will probably don't if you've run 9 ultras or maybe even 3 ultras, but it's the same thing. It's just experience of learning how to deal with problems during the race.
Yeah. 100%. Dom, any more ultra questions?
For not so much ultra, but just like your general sort of diet. What does that look like? And do you kind of I don't know, tailor that at all to what your running program is? Like, would you say, I don't know, load up on certain days and I don't know, reduce I don't know, carb intake on other days, or
Yeah, I don't really. About 3 years ago, back when I started becoming a serious runner, I went vego. So that I think helps a lot. I felt a lot lighter. I do all my running in the morning, and I can feel like I can eat a lot of food and still be super light when I wake up, 6, 7 hours later. Um, at some points, and so nowadays I'm a bit more pescatarian because I was struggling with protein intake. But I still kind of I consider myself like a veggie that eats a lot of tuna. But um, I eat a lot of carbs at dinner. Like I eat a lot of curries and stir fries and like bean and rice, like burrito kind of mixes, just without the burrito part. Um, so I eat quite a lot, and so I'm not of the mentality that you should restrict. I listen a lot to my body. If I'm hungry, I eat, and I eat a lot. I think that certain times during training blocks, like I try to cut out junk food. Not that I'm a massive junk food either, but I try to cut out any snacks that I'm having at work. Or I try and cut out all sweet stuff. I just find it doesn't work for me. I can do it for a week or two, but then I just fall back and I start snacking anyway. And I don't really seem to feel the weight of it. I don't get particularly fatter or anything or feel gross. So I'm just fuck it, whatever. I'll eat. I'm not a professional athlete, right? So the least I can do is, if I have this gift of running 130, 140 Ks a week, the least I can do is be able to eat like it and be able to enjoy all the food, because I sure won't be running 140 Ks in 10 years and won't have the metabolism of the 26-year-old. So I probably will have to watch my food a bit more carefully. So right now, it's just be healthy, try and eat as clean as possible, but enjoy those other things and don't mentally starve myself with the nice things in life. No, I don't tend to have more carbs on particular days or anything. Obviously I do the carb load before races, but otherwise it's pretty stock standard from day to day. I try to keep my protein intake high, but I obviously never hit it because it's pretty hard to do it without eating meat. I have supplements, but yeah, that's about it. I don't eat a lot of greasy food. I cook a lot at home, and eat lots of veggies.
I like that
sounds
philosophy.
pretty sensible. Mm.
Yeah, it's also cheaper and faster. So that bleeds into it.
Yeah, definitely. I think if it's not affecting your running, like you're not running any worse or whatever, then you shouldn't be starving yourself.
Yeah, actually, before Gold Coast, I had half a pack of Pringles the night before because I was freaking hungry, and I started cooking dinner super late, and I had Pringles for reward food for the day after. But I was hungry, and I was like, you know what? They're potatoes. So I pumped half a pack of Pringles, and then had 500 grams of pasta. Yeah, so you can eat what you want, essentially, whatever makes you feel good. If it made me feel bad, I would stop.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Um, yeah, I think that's pretty much it for me. Did you have any other questions, Smithy?
Nah, just I get the feeling you're not going to focus on road marathons. But anyway, after all that, after the ultra chat, I didn't realize that how crazy that event was. But yeah, sorry, Dom, what were you going to say?
Yeah, it just popped in my head. You talked about the work-life kind of balance a lot. What do you do for work?
I'm a commercial lawyer, so I work in the litigation team at one of the big commercial law firms here in Australia. So yeah, it's not too bad. I'm lucky that the boss that I work under a lot at the moment is a runner, so she understands, but it's still not awesome hours, and often I have to tell my coach, like, I haven't done an hour easy run today because I like have been working, I worked till 2 a.m. last night and I'm tired and I just kind of want to sleep. So yeah, I don't get enough sleep. I spend a lot of time working in my chair. But that's just the way it is.
Have you just adapted over time to that?
Yeah, I think so. I think I worked pretty hard during uni, so I'm kind of used to it now. I don't need a huge amount of sleep. Usually I get between like 5 and 6 hours, and that seems to tide me over until I can get to the weekend and get like maybe 1 8 hour sleep a week. Usually sets me right. But it's certainly like I need to do all my runs in the morning, because at night there's no chance of doubles for me, or if I haven't done it in the morning, it's not getting done because once I'm at the office, and like it's not all woe is me. Plenty of times I get to leave at 6:30 or 7, but plenty of times I don't, and it just like contributes to the general stress of training, and something that I talk to one of my close Delta mates with a lot. I see training not as just like the volume of kilometers that you've run during the week, but I see it also as like the amount of hours you've slept and the amount and the quality of food you've had and like the stresses you have at work and like the amount of sleep you're getting. So I know that, some of my road running colleagues get obsessed with having like a horizontal line on Strava at exactly 140 Ks or whatever it is. But to be frank, like I don't give a fuck because, if my Strava could drop down 30 Ks one week, but I also know I worked a 75-hour week that week and I slept like an average of 5 hours. So what's the point of running like an extra, 3 hours to get 30 Ks if this is going to run me absolutely into the ground? And, sometimes I like message my coach and just go like, mate, I'm skipping the recovery run. I'm getting an extra 45 minutes of sleep. And like, that is the best training I could possibly do. So yeah, it's about understanding your body and understanding what's best. But yeah, good quality training is not just like a number on Strava. It's so much more than that.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, very good point. And it seems like you got a good relationship with your coach. Who's your coach and how long have you been with them for?
He's called Andy Dubois. He coaches. He runs mile 27, and so it's all online. He's an interesting guy. Like I don't think he in and of himself was ever a super awesome athlete. Did a bit of triathlon stuff and a few ultras. But he coaches a lot of really good coaches. So he coaches Ben Duffus. He coached Scotty Hawker. He has athletes all over the world doing all kinds of awesome things. And so, I think he's quite kind of when I was tossing around coaches, I ended up landing with him because I thought of all people, he's kind of seen it all. He's got athletes that have done it all. And I know that, say, if I want to run a 230-kilometer race through the Australian desert, he'll know how to train for that. Or if I want to do, a 1 week long stage race where you run 80 kilometers a day through the Pyrenees Mountains, he'll know how to train for that. So that's why I went with him. And yeah, and he's really good. He encourages me to ask questions whenever I see like a new workout or, a new type of training. I always go like, why am I doing that? And, not in an aggressive way. And he always explains like, okay, this is the point of doing that. And he always encourages that. But he's great. He's also lets me, kind of like to think that I'm relatively intelligent about my training and all the rest. And he gives me autonomy. And, if he sets me a 1 hour easy run and I run 40 minutes, he doesn't kick up a fuss. He doesn't even make it, he doesn't care. If I skip a run every now and again, he doesn't care. He's big picture. And it's good. I know some other coaches are a bit OCD about every single detail, which is fine. That's just a personality type. So yeah, he's been really good, and I know a lot of athletes that speak super, super highly of him. And I met a few of his athletes in Hong Kong. He put me in touch with them, and they're crazy good runners in their own right. So it was a privilege to be able to kind of run with them and pick their brains a bit. And they've all been working with him for like 5, 6, 7 years. So it's one of those ones where, you have the confidence. It takes, I think it'll take a few years for him to really get to know me as a runner. So it's kind of a long-term investment for both of us. But yeah, it's proven good so far. He gives me a lot of confidence.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's almost one thing I regret is not like I feel like when I ran my best kind of races was when I was with a coach for like 3 years.
Yeah.
Whereas recently I've kind of just chopped and changed and had coaches for like 6 months or so. And I kind of regret like once I finish a race and go through a really hard training block, just dropping the coach and taking it a bit too easy. So I think, yeah, having that good relationship and sticking with the coach is really important.
Yeah, I agree. And
And
I like coach a bit as well to a few juniors. And that's what I kind of say. I go like the relationship with the coach is not just about one race. It's not like get me through this training block to achieve X result in Y race. It's this relationship that should, if you work well together, last like years and years and years, and it kind of like helps you along that journey together. So like one Delta runner I work with a lot with is like Michaela Franz. And, like I said to her very early on, like I can help you achieve, this top 10 placement at this particular race if you want. But, like that's not really the point of having a coach. The point of having a coach is going like, where can you be in 3 years? What do you need to like? What does that journey look like in running? What are your long-term goals? How do we kind of pave that path? So yeah, I agree, Dom. I think you don't really get the benefit out of a coach apart from the holding you accountable. I think, yeah, you kind of need them for that longer term period so that they know you as a runner almost better than you know yourself as a runner.
yeah, definitely. And I think that that respect for your coach as well is super important. I think, yeah, you mentioned like, oh, missing a run here and there, which I think is fine if you, yeah, have respect for your coach and will be able to complete the rest of the training as it's written. Like, yeah.
Yeah, no, totally. You kind of, where I only started with him February last year, and I did it to kind of hold myself a bit more accountable as I started full-time work, knowing that I would miss sessions otherwise and definitely skip like the easy recovery runs. I prefer to sleep. But I spent a long time shopping around. I like seriously considered working with Gary Howard from Run Crew because he's got some phenomenal trail runners and everyone seems to really rate him. But like it wasn't just to pick a random name out of a hat kind of vibe. I did my research and you go all in and go, all right, well, I trust you. I trust you to do a really good job. You've got pedigree. You've got a great reputation. You have some athletes who've done phenomenal things. I trust you, despite being a pretty experienced runner at this stage, to know more than me, and to know what's best for me. Sometimes to a greater extent than I do. So yeah, it's been good so far. Hopefully, it continues that way.
Yeah, no, that's good insight. Thanks for that. Anything else from you, Smitty?
Nah, I think we've covered a lot. I think we have a 90-minute cutoff from our listeners. It's the feedback I'm
Yeah.
getting.
90 minutes is very long.
No, all good. Yeah, we normally ask guests like what their favorite race was, but I'm probably assuming that it's the walking track that you were talking about.
Yeah,
Not a race then.
that's not a race, but it would probably be my favorite trail.
Okay, if you had to pick a race then.
If I had to pick a race, probably the one I'm most proud of, and then for probably my favorite would probably be GSER 100, or my first 100 miler. I guess my first 100 miler I was pretty proud of. But GSER I really felt like I nailed it, even though I made a whole bunch of mistakes. I was really proud of how I finished and felt really strong and went, yeah, you know what? I actually am a pretty good runner if I can do that. So that's the first one. But yeah.
stuff.
Smitty, I have a question for you.
Oh, here we go.
When are you going to come to one of my hill sessions?
Oh, shit. I keep palming off the blame to Tobias. I don't know how much longer. They're like, oh, look, I just don't know how. I can't get him out there, you know? You know what I mean?
Terrible. You hear all the evidence. Everyone knows that hills are good for you. Everyone knows that my hill sessions are good, and you refuse to come.
No.
I think
We'll
Smitty's good at hills as well.
Am I?
Yeah, I reckon that's like could be like one of your big strengths. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
Really?
quads on you.
I haven't
I-
seen it.
Mm.
Maybe we'll see what happens at City of Surf, the race that I'm focusing on, Matthew. But we'll see how we go. But
I'm gonna check your splits on that segment. I'm gonna check it and say I think my goal will be to be a minute faster than you up Heartbreak Hill. I can run like 3:55, 4, and let's see if you can run sub 5-minute Ks up that like 1.3K split.
what would you be shocked? What pace would you be completely shocked by if I could sustain up the Heartbreak Hill?
4:15.
4:15. And you're okay.
I think when I ran a 48 flat last year, I think I ran like 4:15 up it, and I had a shocker of a run.
Yeah,
But
right,
I'm
okay.
a hill runner, so if you can run that, I'd be pretty impressed.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because I haven't given it any thought. But
We've done any hills in about 6 months.
I think I'm
Yeah.
going to be chopping up a lot of this episode. But
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll wrap it there anyway. Matt, thank you.
All right, Chance.
Thanks for joining, and Dom, great to have you back. And I'll see you, Matt, not on Friday, unfortunately, or tomorrow, but I'll see you on Tuesday, I imagine.
What are you doing on Sunday? 1 hour 45.
Yeah, and tempo reps. Why? What are you doing?
Oh, really? I'm doing
Yeah.
30K easy. But
yeah,
doing tempo reps in the long run.
yeah. We'll tee it up, I reckon.
Where are you doing it?
Probably the Bay. Don't know yet. Don't know.
Okay.
We'll tee it up, I reckon.
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks for the chat, boys. Good to see your face again, Dom. When are you coming back?
Yeah, you too. Back in October.
Oh, shit. Not too long.
Yeah, not too long. I think we're just over halfway now.
Yeah. Nice. What are your race plans? What do you got coming up?
Berlin is the big one.
Oh, fuck yeah.
And then maybe a few road races, but it's hard to find them and line it up with when we're in the right place at the right time. But we'll see how we
You've
go.
got so many trail runs over there at the moment. Why aren't you just pumping like a trail run every 2 weeks to like keep you fit? You should be doing
should
that
be doing
where
that.
you don't even train. Like you just fucking race, recover. Even if it's just like 20, 30K ones.
Yeah, nah. I want to kind of like nail Berlin, so happy to kind of just stick to the plan at the moment.
Sub 220? Why are you laughing?
230.
I'm not laughing.
230.
230? I can fucking run 230. You're way better than me.
No
Oh my
way.
God.
No
220,
way.
No way.
225, surely.
Yeah, I don't know. I need to get fit first. Like, yeah, I think sub 230 would be fantastic. Like, it's so hard to run sub 230.
Yeah, it's not that hard. If I can do it. Luke was trying to do it this time last year. Come on, it's not that hard. Sorry, Luke. That was unfortunate.
No, it was accurate. That's why it's funny. Luke was trying to do it. I was trying to do it.
And got close, dude. You're like 2-3 minutes off. It's not bad.
No, I didn't.
I thought you ran 2:33.
No, I ran 2:36 high because I blew up.
6 minutes, whatever.
Yeah, still not much. Hey?
Yeah, I know.
Oh,
6 minutes, All
once
good.
you get it, once you got a bit of fitness, Tommy, like your long legs, they just move so quick. So quick. You're so smooth through the air. Like
I don't know. I feel
my
like
330s are your 320s, which is
it's just been a long time though. Like, I feel like I got really fit for about, I don't know, 6 months or so, and then since then I just haven't been able to get back to that kind of level. But
it's hard when you travel a lot.
Yeah, But yeah, we're gonna give it a go and see how Berlin works out. But
We'll be here
yeah,
for the journey, Dom.
that's it.
It'll be good.
That'll be fun. I'll be looking for you on
Yeah.
the live stream next to Kipchoge.
Yeah, man, Kipchoge, big showdown.
Have you got elite? Like, have you got the like sub elite entry?
I think so, but I don't think I can put like bottles or anything out.
Okay, but you're in that like start group that sits right behind the elite. So like the sub,
Yeah,
I think it's like
yeah,
sub
I think that's it.
225 start group or something.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. That'll be good.
Mm.
I there was a dude at work that ran Tom Heinen that ran in that group last year, and he said he was like 3 meters behind Kipchoge on the start line. It was pretty cool.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah, but he got there. He got there early because I think it's kind of it feels up. But yeah, all right, that'll be sweet. I'll be keen to see how you go on that one.
Mm. Yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, wicked.
I'm gonna press
All right,
stop
boys.
recording. Hang on.
Oh,
Bye.
so I thought you stopped recording ages.
No, I didn't.
Well, you can cut that.
I was,
bit.
no. We'll just make that the whole podcast.